Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask a STEM Star here on the STEM Stars channel. I'm Dr. Bindu Bayan, and as you can see, we are missing Ami Bakare for this episode, but we are delighted today to have Myka Terry joining us. She is a mathematics major, and again, we are very delighted to have a woman representing the M in STEM. And we are just super excited to hear about your journey. Welcome, Myka.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So I am just really curious to jump right into your journey and your story. I think that, a lot of times when folks talk about STEM, we really just lean heavily on the science and the technology, right? We don't, sometimes engineering comes up and then, and the math is kind of taking up the rear. And so I want to talk about your choice to pursue mathematics. Where did that come from? And, when did that start?
So for me, even all throughout elementary, grade school, really, math was always my favorite subject. I always took a liking to it. And probably around sixth grade, I actually was always doing a grade above my actual grade level math, and I was always in the next class up. So it's kind of always been a thing. And it was actually I was reminded about a week ago that I actually said in sixth grade that I planned on getting my PhD in mathematics. And here we are, lo and behold, I actually just got accepted into Howard University for their PhD in mathematics. And
congratulations.
thank you.
That is awesome. So I think, there might be young women watching who, are good at math and don't necessarily see it as like something that leads to majoring in mathematics. So can you tell me a little bit more about, your preparation in high school and your exposure to certain types of courses in high school that led you to actually choosing math as a major or seeing that as a possibility as a major in college?
So for me, our high school actually had integrated math. So up until calculus and pre-calc, everything was kind of merged together. But I took up to AP calculus in high school. And from there, just because math was something that I always loved to do, it was just really fun. And I always enjoyed doing it. One thing that my friends used to pick on me about is that I would do math for fun. Like it was just
Uh-huh.
it was like if I got bored, it was just something to do or something that was related, like Sudoku. So I would say to girls who are interested, give it a try because what most people don't understand is that when you go into mathematics, or even if you get a degree in mathematics, you can go in so many different directions. Um, for example, I always get, "Are you going to teach?" And I don't knock teachers. I love teachers. There are a lot of teachers in my life who have impacted me dearly.
I know that's right.
But for me, it's not for me. I think it takes a special thing, and I don't have that special thing in my own opinion. So for me, I want to do research, which is how I kind of got into finding the different areas that I could go into with my degree.
And I really think that that's a great point that you make is kind of knowing yourself and knowing, where your strengths and your weaknesses lie. I learned pretty early on that teaching wasn't going to be for me and, was able to focus my efforts elsewhere. So it's really awesome that you were able to see that in yourself early on. And so you mentioned having, been accepted to a PhD program. Again, we love to hear that here on the STEM Stars. And so I'm curious, what in your undergraduate experience has influenced you to apply to graduate school? And how did you choose which graduate programs to apply?
So first off, I can start with the second question first because when I actually came into college, attending Morgan State University, which is an HBCU, I knew once I got in and I felt the environment, I said, yeah, I want all my degrees from an HBCU because so often, or not, people often say, with an HBCU degree, you won't get far in life because they're not valued as the same value as a PWI, for instance. But for me, I instantly knew that I wanted all HBCU degrees. So naturally for me, Howard was a natural thing. And then as I continued to look into programs, I just looked into what I was actually interested in. And now, up to what led me to actually wanting to pursue a PhD, I've always known that I wanted to be Dr. Terry. I didn't know what I would be a doctor, and until I realized that in college, research is just something that's near and dear to my heart. And conducting research, I find so much joy in exploring a problem and possibly finding how it can be applied, how it can help make the world better, and things like that. So once I learned that having more degrees actually helps you to be higher in different areas of research, I was like, that's the natural route for me to go, because research is what I want to do.
I just love that perspective. So many of our sisters are HBCU grads, both undergraduate and in graduate school, and actually have emphasized the sense of community and their, longing to be part of the historically Black college experience. And so it's awesome to hear that, that's something that you had already kind of set your mind on and look at it coming true for you. And so it kind of speaks to, kind of knowing what you want ahead of time and pursuing that. So I want to rewind, back a little further, and I'm going back to high school. I'm going back to middle school, high school, because, I liked math a little bit, but I never considered it as something you could actually pursue. And so you mentioned, liking the math classes and that you would do it for fun. Was there anyone, a mentor, or did you have anyone in middle school, high school, that actually gave you that extra push and told you that this is something you could actually pursue as a career?
So for me, the first time I actually met someone who, or should I say, the first time I actually met a Black woman who had her bachelor's degree in mathematics enough to actually speak, or actually teach, she was my high school math teacher. She taught me my sophomore year, and to this day, we are still friends. We check in with each other, and she sends me encouraging messages. And just being able to see her doing math and actually have a degree, I was like, okay, like I can do this. Because granted, through your first few years in grade school, you often have teachers who do teach everything and all of the subjects. But once you get to high school, you actually have teachers who have degrees in those subjects that they're actually teaching. So to me, to see a Black woman with a math degree, that was something that actually sat with me. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And then to fast forward a little bit, my first math teacher in college was the first Black woman with the PhD that I met.
Wow.
And from then on, she's really taken me under her wings. And without her, I don't know where I would be, because she's helped me guide me and through this journey. So it's really been without my mentors that I've had, like I've had my old fourth grade teacher, that's like my second mom now. She Yeah, she helps me so much, and it's just so great to have those mentors, because without them I really don't know, where I would be. Like, it takes a village, and that's the truest statement.
I really agree with that. That is something that we live by, and I can tell you have a village. You got a lot of comments coming in, from folks who love you and are shouting you out. So, I can tell that you have those people behind you and supporting you, and teachers. Their influence cannot be overstated. Just their presence, like you said, just meeting someone that has these type of accomplishments lets you know that it is possible. And so, we've talked a little bit about the past, but I want to fast forward a little bit. I want to fast forward to what your experience is now. So you are a mathematics major, and again, you thought about going into graduate school and furthering your career, and you um, have been admitted to graduate school. But I want to talk about what you're experiencing now. I know that your experience at an HBCU can be different because you are surrounded by Black excellence. You are surrounded by, all the brilliant Black minds. But I wonder also what it is like just being a woman And being a woman in math, are there experiences that you can speak to that are unique because you are a woman in mathematics as compared to your male colleagues and counterparts?
Actually, yes. So in the mathematics department, I am actually one of three women in our department enrolled. And it really did take a toll on me because my first semester, my freshman year, I actually didn't know any of those. I didn't know any of them until later on down the line. So it kind of was in a space of my own, and I'm like, well, there's no other, women here. This is really male dominated, and I kind of built myself up in that area in a sense with the faculty members because there were a lot of female faculty members or faculty members in other areas and stuff like that to help build up my actual support system. So it definitely was interesting to see it because even going to conferences. So me, I've presented my research at about 25 different conferences
Yeah.
and I've won a bunch of awards and stuff for them. But even in those instances, there still weren't a lot of women, except for I guess it's one main conference that I go to that is of Black mathematicians again, and these are the spaces where we see more of the women in math. So it's a weird thing to go to step outside of that and remember, oh, it is only a few of us who are in this, whether women or Black women.
I totally agree. I think that what's comforting, being a woman in STEM, maybe being a Black woman in STEM, we're creating these networks and we have these, we've built these unified safe spaces. And what is shocking is, like you said, when you go out into, the rest of, your field's world and see, oh, okay, I'm not one of many. Like I am one, a few, and that makes you, even more marketable and even more special. And I'm sure that you know that. So again, more more comments coming in. It looks like you got quite the fan club. I want to talk a little bit about just being a woman in mathematics and what people maybe think that means when they hear that. Can you talk to me a little bit about what are some of the misconceptions that people have when you tell them, I'm a math major? I know you mentioned that people assume you want to teach. What are some of the other, misconceptions that you have to say, no, that's not what I do, or that's not what that means?
So the first thing that, like you said, like I said before, the first question is, so you're going to teach, right? That's what you're going to do. No, that's not the answer. And another thing I get all the time is, well, can you tutor me? Now, this is going to sound so bad, but I actually really do not like to tutor because we, I run it, especially in college, I run into the issue of college students wanting me to actually do the work rather than
Yeah.
explaining the work to them. Now, I can say that for me in tutoring, I love to tutor elementary kids. I've been doing that for such a long time. That's one of the things that I love. But as far as tutoring, no. And then I also kind of get overlooked in a sense. Like people don't expect me to really understand a few things until they realize, like, I've been doing this for a while. And I've actually done a lot. Like I actually have a publication which is not common for
Uh-huh.
a lot of undergraduate students. So it's just kind of like I find myself shrinking a little bit in my role and all of my accomplishments because I feel like sometimes shining too big, they're like, oh, well, she's not doing much. It's usual. This is what you're supposed to do. This is normal. That's not anything special. But for me, not seeing anything like this growing up, this is all of like astonishing to me.
Well, I want to, before I go into my next question, I want to talk to you a little bit about that. I absolutely think that it is better earlier than later that you realize that in any space you are unique, like you are a unicorn, and there's nothing common about anything that you're doing, anything that you're studying, even just your pursuit of mathematics as a specialty that will be your expertise. There's nothing common about that, no matter your gender, or race, where you grew up, what type of institution you came from, you would be a unicorn anywhere. You would stand out, anywhere. So I understand what you're saying, because I think there's a tendency, as women, firstly, to, if people seemingly don't take us seriously, we back down, like we succumb
Yeah.
to that. We're like, oh, maybe it's not a big deal. And then if you compound that with being Black, and we're already trying not to seem too big, trying not to seem too full of ourselves and
Or too
too
aggressive.
proud.
The
Yes.
aggressive part, it always tags on, because once you get that aggressive part, you become
And
that
that label
Black
fits.
woman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Follows you.
but I just want you to know that you have to almost accept that and own that, because you are going to continue as you grow, Myka, and you get more accolades. That publication is just, you're going to have so many more of those. You're going to have so many more presentations, international conferences, all of those things. And as you accumulate them, I mean, you're going to become more and more and more and more and more of an anomaly, right? And so you actually have to accept that in yourself, and just, I mean, you just own it. I mean, it seems like it comes off arrogant, like it's arrogance, but it's just a fact. There are not that many Micahs. And as you
So
go
true.
further and further along, it's like, oh no, it's just me. It's You're the one. So I just wanted to share that, with you. And I just want to see you continue to, don't dim, don't dull yourself. It's pointless, because you're going to keep shining brighter and brighter. It's actually going to get more difficult to dull yourself. So yeah. I want to move on though and talk a little bit about what you see for yourself in the future. And, you know, going to graduate school, or being, bold enough to attempt to apply for graduate school and then getting in, what do you hope to gain from your graduate experience? And what, you said you wanted to be Dr. Terry, but we know it's not just the
I
title.
think
So what are you hoping to gain, from that experience?
so. For me, my some of my goals in life, or one of my biggest goals in life, is to be able to do research in the government. So one position that I found out about is that you can be a lead researcher for a research team. And for me, once I figured out that that was a thing, I'm like, I am a leader. I like to lead the team. I don't like to be the one receiving the orders. I prefer to give them. So, in looking at those requirements, I realized that, in order to even get into that position or to be considered, a PhD is definitely a must. So, naturally, I was like, okay, that's definitely what I want. And then also, during the time of, you know, pursuing my PhD, I hope to build a stronger network of mathematicians and, be able to network, because networking is one of the most important things. This past semester, when applying to graduate school, without my network, I don't know where I would have been. I had the opportunity to talk to a bunch of different Black women in math and hear their advice about, grad school and what I needed to look for in a school, all because I met them off of a conference and kept connected. So
I think that
definitely,
it speaks a lot to your maturity, as a student, because a lot of undergrads don't get that. They don't understand that, the time to be building your network and growing it, and not just superficially, but actually trying to get to know, other folks in your field, especially women, especially other Black women, is now. And so it just again speaks to your brilliance and your foresight that you are able to do that. So no, seriously, like hats off to you um for knowing that. I want to know about, looking, at where you see yourself, what you would tell yourself, your younger self, your middle school self, your early high school self. What would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself, going forward, that might help a young lady that's watching it today?
One thing I would definitely say is always apply. Whether you don't fit the description, whether you think that they might not accept you, if you don't think that you have the grades, always apply, because the only thing that they can tell you is no. And that no doesn't stop anything. It only gives you that no for that one opportunity. And there are more opportunities out there. That's definitely one of the biggest things.
I agree. When I think about all the opportunities that, myself included, just other young women have missed out on, just thinking, well, I don't check, all 10 of the boxes. I only have 8 out of 10 of the, qualifications. So, they didn't give it a shot. And, your gentleman counterpart had 5 of the 10 qualifications and he applied. And so, because his application is there and yours is not, he's even in the conversation, and so that is excellent advice. You always want to be in the conversation. Again, like you spoke to building a network like you have done. If people don't know you, they cannot talk about you. And so I'm impressed with you knowing these things and having done these things at such an early stage in your career. I do want to talk a little bit about um, your dream role. And when I talk about your dream role, I talk about the job you see yourself retiring from. Like you've made it, and now you are doing the thing that you have always been, meant to do. What is that role that you feel like you will retire from?
The role that I would retire from. So for me, I have kind of two dreams in a sense. I definitely the research is such a big thing for me. I love doing it. I enjoy it. It's something that brings me so much joy. So for me, I that's one thing that is my dream job. That is it. And the second dream job is something that I've actually been carrying since high school, and it started off as a senior legacy project. Was I want to start a nonprofit organization, and hopefully it can start off as maybe an after school program and then blossom into the full program that can be nationwide. But what I really want to do is create a program that will actually increase women in STEM, get to those young girls in the elementary school areas and talk to them about STEM, getting them involved and interested in their self confidence and self esteem, just getting that into them then, so that that way later on in life they already have those things and they can just build those through.
Well, isn't that so inspirational? And you're already on that path. Science communication is something that's very important to us, obviously, at the STEM Stars channel. We really, really hope to amplify these stories. Young ladies need to see Myka, future Dr. Terry. They need to see you. They need to see your face. They need to see your smile. They need to see your hair. They need to see that you are a future mathematician, right? And so I think that that is an excellent goal. It seems to be aligned with your personality and all that you've already put into what is for sure going to be a very promising career. And so let us know. I want everybody to know where they can follow you. What's the name of that publication so we could read it? Let us know a little bit about how we can keep up with you.
So my Instagram is m.tizzyyy, and you can follow me on Facebook at Myka Terry. I usually post a lot more of my actual accomplishments and things that I'm working on Facebook, just so that way my family can keep up with me and things of that nature. Now, my email, good email to reach me at is dajera98@gmail.com. However, I can tell you that I check my actual university email at least 30 times a day, so that would probably be the best way to reach me. And that is myter1@morgan.edu. And that email will actually be functional, I believe, until the end of May. I'm not sure when they actually cut off our emails, but that is the best way to actually reach me.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to keeping in touch with you. Now you are a STEM sister. You are in the cruise, so we are definitely going to keep up with you, and we are excited to follow what is, like I said, for sure going to be an amazing journey and an amazing path to your success. So thank you so much for joining us today. If this is your first time watching Ask a STEM Sister, please go ahead and hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video. If you want to keep up with Myka, go ahead and follow her to keep up with her. And go ahead and hit the subscribe button because every week or so we have new interviews with amazing Black women in STEM, and their stories are just as amazing, and their just their pursuits are very inspirational, whether you are a woman or a man, whether you're in STEM or not. These are just inspirational stories, and we love to hear them. So thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you all for watching. We'll see
Thank
you
you so
next
much
time.
for having me.